Well, welcome back to Bible Nuggets. I'm Andy Blalock, joined by Brother Chris Hammond.
Hello.
And we remind you that our theme verse is Matthew 4:4. But he answered and said, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God." But Brother Chris, there's someone in between us.
There is.
We have a special guest with us today.
A very special guest.
Yes.
This is our Pastor Jim Blalock. Fortunate to have him joining us today. And we've asked him to join us because, honestly, this is a truth that I learned from him many years ago. I don't know if he even remembers preaching this, but this is way back in the old building on Center Street.
Oh, boy.
Preached this lesson. It was a Sunday night. And it was one of those messages that at the end, you kind of just wanted to stand up and clap.
He doesn't get those.
Such a fantastic truth. And I'm just thrilled that he could be with us here today.
And I'm honored to be here. I came from the chicken nuggets. I don't see any nuggets. I guess I got the wrong memo.
He got misunderstood the title. But for today's nugget, Bible nugget, we're going to begin in the book of Jeremiah in chapter 22, and we're going to look at, I think, Brother Chris, one of the most peculiar prophecies of the Old Testament, and certainly one of the most, I could say, the boldest proclamation in the Bible.
That's right. We're going to see God putting really the entire world on notice here with an announcement that's really going to change things forever. I like this. It's as he were throwing the gauntlet down.
Yes.
He's going to challenge the entire world to watch for something, watch for this prophecy. Mm-hmm. And it's one that really appears to be, it's like a catch-22. And you know what a catch-22 is, right?
Yeah, it's a classic no-win scenario. Earlier, Dad was talking about it's actually a bureaucratic form. It's very interesting history behind it. But Oxford defines a catch-22 as a dilemma or a difficult circumstance from which there is no escape because of mutually conflicting or dependent circumstances.
Yeah, it's in this prophecy, it appears that God's painting himself in a corner and making a dilemma that cannot be resolved. And in fact, some Jewish scholars use this same lineage, this prophecy, to say that Jesus couldn't not be the Messiah, when it's actually the opposite, as you'll see.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what this is. But let's set the stage for a moment for this.
Well, first of all, he's making this announcement, you'll notice, not to the church, not to an individual. Earth, it's the entire earth he's calling out.
Which he's never done.
This is attention.
Yeah, usually we're always an individual or a nation, but Pastor's right, it's just everybody. And to set this prophecy up, you really have to look at a little earlier, Jeremiah chapter 22, verse 24. It says, "As I live, saith the Lord, through Jeconiah the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, were the signet upon my right hand, yet would I pluck thee hence, and I will give thee into the hand of them that seek thy life, and into the hand of them whose face thou fearest, even into the hands of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and into the hand of Chaldeans. And I will cast thee out," it's important, "and thy mother that bare thee, into another country, at which ye were not born, and there shall ye die. But to the land whereunto they desire to return, thither shall they not return. Is this man, Jeconiah, a despised broken idol? Is he a vessel wherein is no pleasure? Wherefore are they cast out, he and his seed, and are cast into a land which they know not."
And of course, obviously, the man Jeconiah is Jeconiah. It's the same thing as your Andrew. Mm-hmm. People call you Andy. It's just a shortened form. This happens often in the Bible. Yeah. And if you look down now at verse 29 and 30, God is going to call the entire earth, not just the nation of Israel or the church, but the whole earth, hear this prophecy. Look at verse 29. He says, "O earth, earth, earth," a triple mention. "Hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, write ye this man childless." By the way, that's another thing that some skeptics have pointed to and say, well, he had children. But the Bible is very specific here. Yeah. Write that he has no children. Yeah. He goes on in the rest of the verse to say that he will have. But it's specific and it's perfect. Yeah. "Write this man childless, a man that shall not prosper in his days, for no man of his seed shall," so he will have seed, but they won't prosper sitting upon the throne of David and ruling anymore in Judah. And in fact, he spent 37 years in prison as if he had no sons, even though he did. That's the point of the prophecy.
But really, if you think about it at first blush, you look at this prophecy, God's calling out the entire earth, and you're like, Really? That's it?
Yeah.
I mean, Jeconiah will not have any of his descendants ever sit on the throne of David. Is that what God's really calling out the entire earth to hear?
Yeah, it does seem kind of on his face a disappointment. It's kind of an underwhelming prophecy. But why would God call out the entire earth just to see this? Because again, like we said earlier, doesn't this just affect the nation of Judah?
Well, to get the answer, you have to go look at the prophecy and where the prophecy is repeated and really fulfilled in the New Testament, and that's where you see the power of it, the glory of it.
And, what does that mean?
Well, God's pronouncing a curse, and the curse is on the offspring of Jeconiah. He's telling the entire earth, pay attention, watch this, none of his descendants will sit upon the throne of Judah.
Well, wait a minute. So if Judah's ever going to have a king sit on the throne again in Jerusalem, doesn't he have to have the legal right to sit on that throne?
Yeah, and doesn't he also have to be in the ruling line of Jeconiah?
Exactly. The answer is yes and yes.
I'm confused.
Because he has to have the legal right, therefore to sit on the throne, and that right can only come to him if he's in the lineage of Jeconiah. So there's your catch-22 you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But if he's in the lineage, he's really under the curse, if you will, of Jeremiah 22. I mean, God said no man of Jeconiah's seed would ever sit on the throne in Jerusalem.
Exactly. And that's why you have to look at the fulfillment of the prophecy. Could a man be in the lineage of Jeconiah and yet not be of his seed at the same time?
Yeah, and that's why we call this a catch-22 in Jeremiah 22. That's free. But it's a dilemma or difficult circumstance from which there is no escape because of mutually conflicting or dependent conditions. Catch-22.
Well, it does seem really like an impossible scenario, but we serve a God who really specializes in the impossible.
Yes. And that's why God proves himself to the entire earth, and he highlights one of the single greatest doctrines of Christ, of New Testament theology. And to see that, you have to go to the lineage. That's in both of the Gospels, as you know, in Matthew and in Luke. And most of you know that Matthew, you find the lineage of Christ through Joseph. In Luke, you find the lineage of Christ through Mary. Why would God give us these two? Well, for a very specific purpose. And Andy, I'm going to have you read the lineage of Matthew as it pertains to Jeconiah.
Absolutely. Verses we need to see here are Matthew chapter 1, verse 11 and 12. Verse 11, and Josiah begat Jeconiah and his brethren about the time they were carried away to Babylon. And after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconiah begat Salathiel, and Salathiel begat Zerubbabel.
Let me stop here for a minute, Andrew, because you'll notice that Jeconiah is mentioned twice. He's in the third and the fourth group. He's mentioned, you see what says Babylon and Babylon, before Babylon, after Babylon?
Yeah.
He's mentioned in the first group and the last group of Babylonian captivity. Yeah. That verse right there highlights Jeconiah in the genealogy.
Yeah,
absolutely. It just puts a spotlight on it.
It's
and
true.
Then you can go on.
And then it ends, verse 16. We all know this one. And Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, which is called Christ.
I'm going to have to stop you again, because notice the language. Do you know that this is the only time in that lineage that the word begat is not used? It says he begat, he begat, he begat, begat. And then it comes down here, and you'll notice the verse says, and Jacob begat Joseph, quote, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus. And so that's obvious, and the word whom there is singular. So it's just Mary, not begat of Joseph. And so now we see that of the lineage of Joseph, Joseph is of the seed of Jeconiah. Joseph is under the curse of Jeremiah 22. There's the problem. Joseph would have the legal right, to sit on the throne because he's of the lineage of Jeconiah. But Joseph can't sit on the throne since he's on the curse of Jeremiah chapter 22. But Chris, you can read the part from the Gospel of Luke.
Lovely. So in Luke chapter 3, we really have, if you will, the reverse genealogy.
Yes, we do.
With Christ being mentioned first. At verse 23, it says, and Jesus himself began to be about 30 years of age, being, and I like this, as was supposed.
Yes. There again, the language.
The son of Joseph, which was the son of Heli. And it goes on, we drop down to verse 27, which was the son of Joanna, which was the son of Risa, which was the son of Zerubbabel, which was the son of Salathiel, which was the son of, not Jeconiah, but which was the son of Neri, which was the son of Melchi, and so on. There is no Jeconiah in this lineage.
Yeah.
Amazing, right? I mean, if you think about how both of these genealogies are presented in the Scripture, Jesus' lineage through Mary does not include Jeconiah. So that through Mary, Jesus is not under the curse of Jeremiah 22. But through Joseph, Jesus would be under the curse if Jesus were a descendant of Joseph. But we know he was not a descendant because of the virgin birth. And in fact, that's what, earth, look at this. The virgin birth is really what's being highlighted.
Amen.
Yes.
The miracle of what happened. There's an interesting text I'm going to read you guys from the end of Jeremiah. And this kind of highlights all of it as well.
Yeah.
It says, "And the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah, saying, Thus saith the Lord, if ye can break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night," that's a saying, sure as the sun rises, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
"If you can break that covenant and my covenant of the night, and there should be day and night, and not be day and night in their season, then may also my covenant be broken with David my servant, that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne."
Yeah.
How strong is God's promise that the lineage is going to be exactly as God said and Jesus said, and the prophecies proved out to be.
Yeah, it's amazing because Jesus is both a legal heir to the throne without being under the curse of Jeconiah.
And I love how God he's just thrown down the gauntlet. He's calling out the entire world because of this virgin birth.
Yeah.
It seemed like a catch-22, but it wasn't. But he and he alone has the right to sit on that throne.
It's an encouraging truth to know the provision and the promise of God, that he is always faithful to his word, and he alone is worthy of our trust, and he proves it time and time again. I loved having Dad on. Pastor, having Pastor with us today. But we hope this was a blessing to you. We hope you have a wonderful day. God bless, and we'll see you next time.